Hello, this is Ameta Martha with Collection Ascension, and I will be reading the energies for tonight's first quarter moon, September 13th, until the full moon, September 20th. So let's see how things start to transpire for us this week. Definitely a shift from last week. The Two of Wands, the Knight of Cups, and the Four of Pentacles. I think it seems as though the process has been illumination of will, application bringing up shadow, and now understanding. What we gain through our intuition, we can apply and get vision to where to apply. When we have the concept in our hands that the earth or the world or whatever we want is right before us, and we can use what we have learned on our spiritual path to attain whatever outcome we want, we can keep our eyes fixed on all that there is and all the potentiality rather than not seeing what opportunities there is at our feet. This offers new levels of emotional understanding, new depths in our relationships, new processes of those shadow emotions that come up as we continue to act and ponder where to go from here with this connectivity to spirit. And, we have been gifted this experience. It's really less of a subjection, like life is a subjection, but more so as life is an inheritance. We can get caught up in the way that negative feelings are processed. Well, the process of negative feelings, how it feels. Those sensations can really allow us to lose sight of everything that is before us. However, if we stay in a position of responsibility and we take accountability for what is and isn't working, what we do and do not need to continue doing, we can start to have an appreciation for all that we are given and all that we have to preserve for ourselves. Now, in my interpersonal relationships and my personal relationship with myself, last week was pretty heavy, and I'm not sure about you, but I would be willing to bet that at least something came up, since we're a collective, and a lot really shifts simultaneously. With this devil and then the collaborative card, I think that oftentimes when the shadow aspects of ourselves come up, we can be tempted to fall into past programmed responses to the way that we have attached ourselves to the reaction of these feelings. It can keep us bound and in the shadows. However, when we come forth, it's like out of, they're both very dark cards, but it's like out of this, allowing ourselves to accept this, allowing ourselves to see it for what it is. It's not this scary demon that's got us chained. It's just an aspect of ourselves that we are trapping ourselves in. But when we attract our people, the ones who are trying to come through this process as well, we're suddenly no longer alone in the dark. We have a little bit of a high ground. We have support. We have a platform to present ourselves from, and an opportunity to have support in those times, like to be able to identify who is and who is not functioning at the same frequency as you anymore, will help us to break these cycles and patterns based off of automatic response and move into new positions where there's a lot more to offer, and the world is at our feet at that point. Moving away from this concept that the world is not in our hands, that we cannot have this. I've never talked about this before with this card, however, it is coming up for me. I have this world carved little creature tattooed on myself. However, I wanted to know what this said in Hebrew before I did that. And it says Yahweh, like these other letters, or it says Yahweh, and then this says tarot. And Yahweh is the Jewish God, or the name for the divine Father in Jewish references or in the Torah. However, I, through my own personal research, have come to see some different concepts about Yahweh, so I changed mine to Adonai in runes. It's beside the point, but looking deeper into this wheel, in between each letters is like an intermingling of the concept of God and the concept of tarot, and the fact that you're even watching this video means that you're at least a little bit open to the concept of tarot and the concept of God, spirituality in general. What we pick up from our spiritual systems, our guides, this type of communication with spirit and our higher selves, really can change our perspective of identity, because when we connect to spirit in this way, we're actually connecting with the extension of ourselves, seeing as that we are also God. God is us with a personality and an experience and a story. And, this creature is just sailing through the sky with this wheel on its back. And, when we take up our responsibility and we place it on our shoulders, it doesn't have to be heavy laden, this burden that's bearing down on us. It can actually just be this thing that we glide through the air on, because it's a connectivity or a connection to communication with God. It's our responsibility to maintain that communication, to be open to the ways that the universe speaks to you specifically based off of just your personal identity and how you can be reached, and to cultivate that, to allow it to grow. Now, at this point, we might feel as though we're at a bit of a standstill. However, with this first quarter moon, it's time to take action. The Two of Swords and the Two of Wands, she is making the decision. However, he is ready to put forth the first steps toward movement. However, it seems like it's a bit like it's dusk. It's maybe there's still some things that we need to ponder and get some clarity on before making this decision to act, since the swords are about action and the Two of Wands is about using intuition and spirituality to make your choices. However, with this coming further down, this is the outcome, it's like the necessity to continue to cultivate this communication, to get a real clear message or instruction to how to get to this energy. This is some really, to be stagnant and then immediately into this is quite a difference, especially with this Devil here. We're moving into some really big shifts. This energy that's coming forth for us right now has a lot to offer if we access it and entertain it and allow it to be present with us. So coming out of this emotional immaturity and allowing it to become opportunity that we hold dear to us, and bounce off of those who we trust and see in the perspective of as opportunity, and then sit with ourselves as we make these decisions in life. It'll lead us to a renewed sense of being, a renewed view, and immaturity replaced with innocence, looking at the world with a less jaded or less previously perceived take. Kind of taking the blindfold off of our eyes to see what we can now have accessible to us based off of letting go of the preconceived ideas that was learned through our experience, and allowing ourselves to become open to what the universe has to offer in the future. However, also, these kind of being in conjunction, the three of these, because usually I'll pull 3 and 3 and 3, but these kind of being like this, I can see from our past the necessity to remove the veil or the previous viewpoint from our eyes will allow us to see the light in a new way and shining through everything. And then opening up to the idea that the world is at our feet and we create it through our mentalities and beliefs will open it up to where we can level up to fully embody and physically experience a higher level of understanding and a higher function that starts from within, and it creates new movement in our life, movement toward new opportunities, movement toward new experiences, and movement toward this divine communication, showing you that you can get through the darkness and toward light every time that it comes right back, because there's going to be so much to process constantly, and allowing yourself to develop a metacognitive approach to your own experience will then allow you to become ever flowing and release you from the stagnance. There's ripples in the water behind her. Like, there is movement. It's just a matter of if you're going to let your guard down, take your blindfold off, and just stand up and get moving. I want a little bit more clarity on what this is about, like context clues. Yikes. Whoa, okay. Well, I like that. Let's see what this has to say first. Okay, this has to do with these guys here. So, we've been out of balance in the unstable waters, or at least the necessity to balance ourselves in these times has been present. Maybe we've lost a little bit of our control because of these shadow aspects of ourselves, these lower vibrational feelings that cause us to be triggered and respond in a way that we have learned through our experience, and it causes suffering. But this being in reverse, hang on, let me go back a little bit. Like, what we're learning here, this process we've been going through, this path we have been traveling on, has led us to beginning to cultivate a new perspective on how to approach things that have brought up our feelings. The Queen of Swords is a gentle, activated decision maker. She uses her wisdom through the experiences she's had and the knowledge she has attained through that experience to make her decisions, and she's like assertive but also self-assured in that, based off of just the trust that she has from knowing that her decisions are made in wisdom and the actions she takes are backed up by the trust she has in the universe because of that surrender into experience. And then the King of Cups is a highly mature, emotionally grounded individual. He, with this, like, all these opportunities that we have come up for us to heal these darker aspects of ourselves, and also, look, just as a sidetrack, he's got the inverted pentagram on his head, which is like for me, if the pentacle is a physicality and the pentagram is kind of, cover these sides, and now it's, the as below, above his head, what he thinks, the way that what he believes, the way that he speaks to himself, the way that we speak to ourselves when we are in a emotionally charged belief system of lack or self-doubt or any of these things that keep us from being able to pick up and move and create this balance. It becomes physical, but it starts with our emotions. So when we can become emotionally balanced and we can use these experiences that we've had and take action based off of what we already know and apply that to inner healing and allow our emotions to be seen more so as, indicators of where there is a lack of truth or where a belief is not in service to us. What feels bad is trying to get your attention to tell you, hey, this is not true. You are God. You are divine. You are creating your experience. Hey, physical body response to what you are believing is not in alignment with your highest good. When we can become these out of this and pick up our swords and remove this blindfold and regain this ability to balance ourselves because we take our actions and we process our emotions through the wisdom that we've gained through experience, we then free ourselves from heartbreak. These lower feelings that don't necessarily make us very happy will then extinguish themselves because we are allowing ourselves to heal and be processing these feelings that we have because we care enough about ourselves to let them go. These beliefs that we often come up with didn't originate from self. They originated from the way that we processed our self-worth based off of our experiences that we've had with other people and rejections and, just any kind of diminishing belief that has been acquired from thinking that something that happened to you was because of you. And like I said, we manifest our own reality, but oftentimes what comes up comes from generational curses, like generational conditional love. And that can create a lot of other relationships to come up that do break our heart and make us cry and make us revisit these cycles over and over again with new people and with more heartbreak because it's deeply rooted in the psyche and coming from the subconscious to be healed. If you love yourself as much as you've ever yearned for the love of someone else, you can lay to rest literally everything you've ever felt wounded by. And coming out of this, like this movement away from this or like through this, let's not even like say it's something that we need to move away from because yeah, sure, if we put things to rest then we can process them to the point where it's no longer a necessity to have to repeat it again to learn more from. However, if we're moving through this indecision toward this gentle decision making that leads us to healing, then out of that we gain more strength and temperance, peace, and clarity. We realize the infinite nature of our being, and it starts to pour out into our lives. We can tame this beast within and really water ourselves to watch ourselves grow, and we can feed what is okay. Hang on, I got messages on top of each other. So instead of we can feed, it's like instead of feeding the fears, you're giving treats to the things that trigger your body's fight or flight by telling it to sit and then it listening, because you know that approaching your bodily response from this level of awareness actually is you telling your body, hey, we are safe no matter what. You do not need to protect me because I know I'm good and we're going to get through this together. It's not you against yourself. It's you and yourself pushing and processing through. Like, I enjoy taking a step back and allowing myself to be seen split between the mind and the body and the soul. And then I allow myself to consciously love myself. Like, I let my consciousness love my body for everything that it does for me. And operating at that level of function can really allow your body to just like melt into that. And your physical guard system, your body's subconscious memory system, then can be also healed, because some of the things that we don't even remember that are core problems that stir up emotion come from the physical body and the body's memory that we don't consciously remember. So a lot of the time, if you just sit with yourself and you can learn how your body is trying to communicate with you, and you actually try to understand it, and you sit there with yourself and your feelings, and you ask your feelings what they're trying to tell you, as if it is a person that you're gaining interest in, somebody that you're wanting to know and learn about and show that you care for, then your relationship with yourself starts to blossom in a way that you've never experienced before. And I think with all of this like major arcana influence, there's a lot of prosperity to be gained here. Also, especially with the Wheel of Fortune and the Ten of Pentacles. I feel like I might have called this the World card, actually. However, the Wheel of Fortune and the World are similar in ways of like, being able to have the outcome that you want. Just what I said about learning more about yourself, like, all these divine beings they're studying. They've all got their books, and they're also free slate. Like, you get to write what is decided. I want a little bit more. Okay, hang on. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. This is a warning. The parallel to this is apathy, woe is me, lack of opportunity, lack of appreciation, and complete loss of power. Kind of seems crucial that we take this point, or else we will start the cycle over with these feelings that cause us this pain. We have the Seven of Pentacles, the Five of Cups, and the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. So, looking at this work that we have to do with a sigh, like it's an inconvenience, I don't feel like it, I don't want to, not taking the time to work with yourself means that this fruit that's so ready to be harvested and to be something that nourishes you, that like you can use in your life to help build and establish yourself, it just falls away and rots. However, what does unharvested food do? It grows again. So even if we do not feel like we have it within us to take this opportunity to really grow and stand for ourselves and come into our power, the cycle will start again. It just starts, the beginning of it starts with decay. Decay of motivation, a sadness. This also kind of feels like where I was last week when new opportunities came up. It didn't feel as great as it was, but today I feel like that going through that darkness, that roughness of the energy from last week really showed me so much about especially about what I said, with the way that the universe communicates. Like immense climax at the end of this week over the weekend. However, allowing that to become a new pattern that brings up our older cycles, that keeps us bound to this hard work that we have to put in, keeps us unable to see what we have going for us and sobbing over what we've lost, sobbing of the concept and the idea of who we should be, what we should have, what we should do. Keeps us with our head down. I mean, homeboy's got his head down, this guy's got his head down. And then we miss these opportunities for physical gifts, to see what we could have here, what we've been cultivating. We don't get to see it come to us, because if we're not looking down, or if we are looking down, how are we gonna see this guy on his horse above us? Here, from above, here, gimme. Like that pentacle coming in, that offering coming in. Sometimes this divine gift rides in on a black horse. It's kind of scary, kind of feels bad, kind of feels intimidating. Sometimes we don't want to do it. Sometimes we don't want to take it. However, like I said, do not take these opportunities for emotional advancement. It just leads to a lack of power. Everything we've worked for, everything that we're aiming toward or moving toward is stifled. So do we really want to have to go back and start over again with this? I don't. I definitely stumble at least for 1 week out of the month, every month, where I've got to process more emotion, got to process more past trauma, I've got to process things that are triggering me and the way that I react in those lower vibrations, and make that right with myself and the people around me through, taking accountability, self-acceptance, and asking for forgiveness, and creating deep bonds based off of reestablishing relationship after responding in a cortisol charged, harsh environment, and starting over. It feels good to stand up when you've been sitting, and it feels good to stretch when you've been chained. And I was taking a look at this guy. His counterpart is over here, and he is not a negative. But what I was feeling is though, yeah, see, up under him is the Ace of Swords. So it's kind of like I said, how we will have to start again with this cycle that might start uncomfortable if we miss this opportunity. And I said she uses and applies what she's learned with a gentle and nurturing approach. However, he's kind of stern. He's got all this experience that she has. She's wearing similar crowns, sitting on similar thrones, but this is more of a controlling, more masculine energy. So it's like maybe these decisions that we make and the actions that we take from this lower vibrational feeling that's charged by these negative experiences being tripped up within us, it kind of, he also has his sword over his shoulder, it's kind of in front of him, so it's kind of like I'm getting a bit of a lack of trust. There isn't this harmony that's gained through this experience. It's more of guard up, I gotta make my decisions to keep control of my situation because I have all this hiding and I've got all this in me. I gotta protect myself. This seems to be like a function from the body, and this is like a function from the soul. And so to move through and gain this partnership of the two through learning about yourself and just having like an exploration or the desire to explore with yourself. Go into the shadow aspects of yourself to shine light. Like, it's kind of, our negative feelings can often feel like a dark basement that has like a pull string in the middle of the room, so you've got to like go down the stairs and then walk in the darkness and then pull the string. It feels scary, but you know, when you turn the light on, you see all these things that you need, the tools that you needed, the things that you came down there for. It's right there waiting for you. Any last messages through the tarot before I go into the oracle? Okay. So the Hierophant came up in reverse, and I've got a secret card. This, oftentimes, it's like, to me, it speaks less obvious things coming up. Like these three came all out in reverse. So it's like, you know, maybe this is a more subtle thing. It's not like a very tactful, I'm against my emotion, I don't want to feel this, like, oh, but it's like maybe something that's subtly not being noticed that still has this impact. Anyway, Hierophant in reverse. We are learning. Either way, we are learning, but we still have much to learn before we can take this position. When we go through either process, we will gain this placement of knowing. Very wise energy coming from this card. Very knowledgeable. People come to him for knowledge. People come to him for wisdom, and they trust him. So to become this, we must unlock that basement of negative emotion. We must allow ourselves to accept ourselves no matter which process we have to go through to get to this attainment of knowledge. And then, my favorite, the Nine of Pentacles. Like I said with this guy and the as above, so below, beliefs become the physical experience. This lady creates her experience. This lady creates her life. And she doesn't look like she's hurting. The last quarter moon reading had these two together. And the way I see it, you know, you can look at your need to do the work with a sigh, you know, scoff at it. Ugh, I don't want to. I don't feel like it. It hurts. It's uncomfortable. Or you could be like, look how good my garden is growing. She's super in tune with what she has. She knows that she is living a life of luxury. She knows that she is a big deal. You know, I feel like her relationship with herself must be pretty good, because she manifests her beliefs, and her beliefs are powerful. There's that balance again. Continue to commit to getting to know yourself on a deep level, processing fears together, processing happiness together, processing sadness together. Now through these, I just want to see what guidance we can access. Love it. What guidance we can access and call on this next week as we go through these processes, as we make our decisions to continue on the path. Who can we call on to come in to assist us when we're feeling low? So we have victory from our divine helpers, compromise from our master teachers, and psychic awareness from our divine soul. Cool. Cool. You know, orange is the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra has to do with more of our physicality, you know, our instinct, which kind of goes along with this fear, fight or flight, freeze, you know, that response I was discussing earlier. However, it's victory. Shine light on that shadow self, you know, see how the angels are sprinkling this divine wisdom toward you just by embracing it and letting this grow. You know, that garden I mentioned, letting it grow within, deep within the heart, you know. And interesting enough, look, the three inside, oh, I like it. Okay, the three inside are the same colors that are in these other cards too. And what I initially saw from that was like the sacral chakra and then the heart chakra, and then, you know, allowing a intermingling of love to come in when we're feeling that fear, because, you know, it is the exact opposite. And like, okay, they're hugging. So it's like you being in the middle of your soul and your body, allowing them to come together, and like they're like mixed, you know, like this is standing a bit taller. It's like if these two became one person and grow together, like hold yourself together, allow your soul and your body to become your spirit, you know, this like unified, integrated person, and you just see how the universe just rains down all this blessings and abundance and shines light all over you. You know, when you shine light on what you've rejected in yourself, then you can feel the light coming down all around. Then we have a beetle. Where'd you come from? I want to look into that before I close this out then. Psychic awareness from our divine soul. You know, that's basically what I had mentioned about learning how to communicate with yourself and with your divine guides. You know, the way that spirit communicates with you sometimes is a direct mirroring of what you can see within yourself, because it's all connected, right? So if we have this psychic awareness about our bodily response, what our physical experience is trying to show us about our internal experience, and just allowing this to continue to grow, you know. Look, it reminds me of her again too, because like it's just growth. Oh, so much growth. Regardless of what you go through, there's growth, because she's within this, or they are within this flower, and this bird is on the shoulder. So it's like what she's growing and is seeing coming to fruition for her in her life of luxury is actually coming and starting and rooted from within. So sometimes we do have to make the compromise. And the master teachers are what we learn from in this experience. You know, if you look at everything that we go through as a divine teacher instead of, an uncomfortable or negative experience. Like if the experience itself is allowed to be viewed as a divine teacher, a master teacher, and we are here in this classroom of physical learning, hands-on experience through birth and death and growth in between, then we can sometimes be put in positions where we have to compromise not ourselves, but our lower vibrational beliefs, our lower densities, things that feel like shit to give up on because of the way that the ego wants to protect you from embarrassment or what if, these things. And sometimes to be able to find these people to collaborate with to get through this darkness that we have within ourselves by accepting it and allowing people to show it. Sometimes we do have to allow things to be brought to the surface and then take a step back and see how maybe we have been wrong in our lives, like allowing ourselves to have a new reinvigorated view by taking the veil off of our eyes to see maybe what needs to be transmuted, what needs to be let go of or approached in a different way, what needs to be resolved within ourselves and with others, and sometimes just taking accountability for something that we were not aware of before, that we come into that awareness of, even if years have gone by. It really offers a lot of healing. Taking that accountability and taking responsibility for things can completely lay to rest every aspect of what was buried within the subconscious, even if we didn't think that we were ever in the wrong. A lot of the time, coming to these ideas comes from being incredibly honest with ourselves, and we become aware of it because of that experience, that like we were blinded to it because we needed to go through that specifically to gain that wisdom and new view. So this week, when you're starting to feel like you're in the cross between which side to choose, call on your divine helpers, master teachers, and the divine soul. So ask and you shall receive. When you're feeling lowy, when you don't want to take this cup, when you don't want to turn around and look at what you still have and be grateful, when you don't want to do the work, sit with yourself for a moment. Connect to your divine soul, the consciousness within you, and to say, I need help. Show me what I can learn from this. I embrace this master teacher to show me what I'm not seeing from this experience, from what I'm going through, from what I'm feeling, so that I can allow my divine soul to help my body get through this, allowing myself to become a divine helper, allowing my divine soul to be a divine helper that teaches mastery. Really, really optimistic view on what could come from this, regardless of how heavy it is. It is what it is. Let it be. Let it come. Let it flow. Invite it to come. No matter what face it has to show when it surfaces. Just embracing and accepting exactly who you are, no matter who you are in that moment, because it's ever changing and things get better all the time. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing what we'll have to celebrate for next week.